Alright, what is up, guys? Zaladin Palantir. I'm going to be doing my review of Game of Thrones Chapter 1, because last review was the prologue. Just saying, I did get a lot of emails, a lot of some comments, most were inboxes, giving me feedback about how to do these, what the game plan should be, basically. And what I've decided, because I am doing this for you guys, and I'm listening to you guys, I have listened to a few of the suggestions, and I decided to do these reviews chapter by chapter instead of what I was going to do before, which was going to be a cluster of about 3 chapters at a time, or maybe even 5. I've decided to do chapter by chapter. Is this going to take a long time? Because a lot of people seem to think it's going to take a really long time, that's chapter by chapter, but that's still what you guys want to hear or see. But the thing is, why these are not going to take that long is because while I'm doing it chapter by chapter, I'm going to be putting these out whenever I can. So that's going to be something to look forward to. That's going to be good. But other than these being chapter by chapter and me putting these out whenever I can, I will be starting book 3 soon. And I did get a request. I'm sorry, I forgot who it was. I'm going to find out who it is, give you a quick shout out. But this person told me basically that rather than give a recap, I should give more of a discussion kind of thing, predictions, how it relates. It was Dean Manifest. Yes, Dean Manifest told me I should do a little more in the recap, which I meant to do, but it didn't come out quite as I thought it would or wanted it to. But I'm going to try to straighten this up with this review. Now, this is going to be chapter 1 of Game of Thrones, still book 1. Remember, book 3 prologue, I'm doing that really soon. Basically, what's happening here is Ned Stark is taking all his male children that are of age, meaning Bran, Jon Snow, and Robb Stark, obviously, Robb, and, a few of the household guards, household members, and then Theon's coming along. Basically, they're going to behead a deserter from the Night's Watch. Now, the difference between this and the adaptation is the adaptation was Will, who got captured and beheaded. Will is the one that escaped. This one, it's Garrett. We know it's Garrett because they didn't refer to him by name, but they said he lost an ear to frostbite. We know Garrett is the one that lost body parts to frostbite, so it's obviously Garrett. Really doesn't really hold much weight, that little change, but it's something. Bran's coming of age, so basically Ned wants to start training Bran in the old ways. He doesn't want his son to be soft, so to speak. He wants him to grow up to be knowledgeable, hard, and mature. He's maturing. So basically he thinks it's a good idea to take him to see this beheading. So this is what he's going to do, sort of, to make Bran accustomed to the ways of not just being a man, but the ways of the North. Because the ways of the North are really emphasized in Winterfell and by House Stark itself, because they have the blood of the first men running through their veins. Basically now, we do hear Bran talking about, who he thinks this guy is that's being beheaded. He's heard rumors that it's a wildling. He's heard a whole bunch of rumors. But basically, this is really monumental. So you guys all have to remember that Bran's thoughts about these guys, he gives a description of what he thinks wildlings are, people that sleep with the others, they capture women, they sell women, there's bad people, demonic-like people. This really shows the prejudice against wildlings to the common person in the Game of Thrones universe. And you have to realize that universally, these thoughts are pretty shared among people north of the wall, south of the wall, that wildlings are just bad, genuinely bad people. But something we have to remember, because I'm not trying to spoil, but just remember that wildlings never take people in Westeros' word for something. Because in Westeros, while some people are very knowledgeable, the knowledge of a lot of things, especially things north of the wall, is really limited. So people oftentimes won't know what they're talking about. They won't believe in something, So just keep that in mind, that wait till you see a wildling until you accept everyone's assumption of wildlings. Because, universally wildlings are thought of in a bad light in the Game of Thrones universe, obviously. But you're going to see a lot more of them later. And the beheading scene commences, obviously, and then after Garrett's head is chopped off, I think it's kind of weird how Theon is said to kick the head. Like, this guy really is insensitive. That's what it seems like. Theon just comes off right there as an insensitive character. And something I've thought to analyze while I'm rereading the books is the relationships of all the Stark children with each other. Because of course they do split up at one point, but you can only assume that they're all going to have further relationships with each other later on in the story. So I think it's kind of funny to see how they interact, because a lot of them don't really have too much interaction, such as Bran and Sansa. You know, so characters like that, those two didn't really have too much character-to-character interaction. I find it kind of funny because no one really remembers this. Theon's interaction with Jon. Jon really thinks of Theon as an ass. He actually calls him an ass in this scene. I think it's kind of funny how their relationship really doesn't seem too intimate or too close. It seems like a kind of, not even a rivalry, because a rivalry is more of what Jon and Robb have with each other, whereas Jon and Theon is more of a hatred kind of rivalry. I don't know. That's what it seems like in this scene, though. I think it's really funny how Robb and Jon have the argument over the man who died, whether he died bravely or whether he was just struck by fear. It really does show the contrast in their individual characters and how they think. And then we have Bran talking to Ned about, you know, what happened. Was this guy, Bran's curious whether this guy was really scared or whether he was brave. And then here comes one of my favorite quotes made in Game of Thrones, one of my favorite quotes. I have a whole ton of them, granted. But this is a really good one. Ned says, "The only time a man can be brave is when he is scared." Which is really true when you think about it. I mean, when's the only time you can actually show your bravery and show that you are brave? When you are internally scared, but, you know, you gotta show that you're brave, try to overcome your own fear. That's what makes you brave. Of course, the old way, another one of my favorite quotes, the man who gives the sentence should swing the sword. Meaning, if you're the one that wants to condemn someone, you have to follow through with the punishment. And the old way, Winterfell's way, I really respect that. It really seems like a really stand-up thing to do. Of course, the last thing that happens in this chapter is the direwolf distribution. One direwolf is basically given to each one of the Stark children, and Jon eventually gets his own, a straggler. But the really interesting thing that people usually don't see or notice their first read-through of chapter 1. How did this direwolf die, the mother direwolf or the father direwolf? Of course, this is foreshadowing another death. Of course, the death of the direwolf is foreshadowing another death. But how did it die? It died from an antler. What is an antler? What is the symbol of House Baratheon? A stag. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge, foreshadowing right there. People usually don't notice this their first read through, and actually I never noticed it until a year or two, I think it was like a year ago, when I had to actually reread or rewatch season 1, and I'm like, wait, that's some epic foreshadowing right there. So it's pretty interesting to see that. Anyways, guys, AlexPounds here. That is my review of chapter 1. Of course, tell me what you guys think in the comments. How did I do this one? I'm really curious to know. Anyways, guys, peace out.